What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the greatest combat sports and culture show in the entire universe, the Fight Podcast. I am your host, SERG VICENTE, and today, when you see this gentleman next to me, when you see the guru sitting next to me, you know what time it is. It's Guru's Corner, all things boxing. This week in boxing with the guru, CAMM, what it do, bro?
Oh, what's good? Thanks for having me back. We got a lot to talk about, and yeah, it's good boxing coming up this weekend, next weekend. I don't even know. We got Joyce coming up this weekend. I'm excited for that.
We have a lot of good fights, man. We got a lot of good. Hey, look, heavyweights was fighting this past weekend. I mean, there's been a lot of good boxing this past weekend. You know, next weekend. I cannot remember. I feel like we say this like once every at this point in time for us is like once every other year. We'll say it. Like, man, I can't think of a stretch in boxing that has gone this far with this many great fights. Back-to-back weekends, marquee names, back-to-back weekends, and we right back at it. So before we get started, everybody who's watching live, thank you guys so much for watching live today on the Fight Podcast YouTube channel. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We really do appreciate that. And also, dude, go ahead and grab some merch, man. We have some great t-shirts. We have some mugs. Check that out today as well. Appreciate you guys. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. This weekend, Shakur Stevenson makes his lightweight debut. He shines against Yoshino. Brandon, let me ask you this. He goes out there, he gets a stoppage in the 6th round. Ref essentially said he's seen enough. No more. I've seen enough. I don't want to take it. It was the right stoppage. Yes, people obviously like seeing people go out, but it wasn't necessary. He took enough damage. Is Shakur Stevenson the best lightweight in the world currently?
Yeah, I think that's too bold of a statement for me to make at this point in time. I think he still has room to fill out body-wise into this weight class, but overall he looks really good. It's just unfair to say he's the best lightweight thus far because it's just one fight. He hasn't really accomplished much in the division, though Yoshino was a decent test, we'll say. But there's a lot of talent there already. Loma, who's accomplished a lot in the weight class. Haney, who, and I'm not necessarily against it, but he is the most disrespected undisputed champ perhaps ever. You have Ryan Garcia, which he hasn't really done much to earn his spot either. He does have a win.
I don't think he's that guy.
He does have a win over Campbell, but Shakur doesn't even have that. So he's definitely top 2, top 3, but to confidently say he's the best, I can't do that just yet. But for someone that you can definitely make that argument. Me personally, I'm not there just yet. Top 2, top 3 in division, absolutely, but he's not the best just yet.
Man, you know what? When you look at, and you're right, I think Devin Haney is absolutely the most disrespected champion out there, especially undisputed champion. He goes out there, he does what he's supposed to do, and he's going after the big challenges. I mean, him going after Lomachenko at this point in time, he doesn't have to have that fight. He's making it happen. I appreciate that. But man, Shakur Stevenson, he's one of those guys that, we always talk about the eyeball test. Like, he passes the eyeball test. Like, everything that he does, and now even up a weight class, he's showing the thing that a lot of people said he didn't have, which is power. He's going out there and actually stinging people, dropping people with jabs. I mean, I think there was 2 knockdowns in this last fight with Yoshino, and he got to the point that he was just, hurting them with big uppercuts, big hooks. And for the guy that everybody says needs to fill into the weight class isn't big enough, the undisputed champion, I'm not seeing him hurt people. Now, granted, and I'm not saying in that manner, the champions fight in higher level competition. Those guys aren't there to be hurt in that same way. I concede to that. You know what I'm saying? But Shakur Stevenson's that dude, man. And, we know how we feel about stories, locker room stories, sparring session stories, but Shakur says he's gotten the better of them. I don't know how I feel about that, but I think he's number 2 behind Devin Haney at this present moment in time. That's how I feel for sure.
I have seen a bit of leaked footage. Shakur definitely seemed to be getting the better of Haney in that footage, but like these guys have known each other since they may have been like single digits. So they were really young in that sparring footage. A lot has changed. If you look at Shakur just from the 2016 Olympics to now, and that's one of the fun things about watching Shakur is, for me, this is probably the first boxer that I've watched as an amateur that I get to actually watch as he develops into a pro. And then I saw him as a pro in the beginning phases, and I'm seeing him transition into a different type of fighter that walks forward, similar to Canelo and Tank. But coming back a little bit, I want to comment on what you said about his power. Now, he's hitting harder, but more importantly for someone like me, I think he's getting more secure about his power. And that security is important. You see guys like Devin Haney, he'll ask his opponents about how his power feels after the fight. And number one, it doesn't look good when we look back and roll the footage that he's asking it, hey, how my power feel. It shows that insecurity, but it also gives you a peek into his mindset. He's not secure in his own power, where Shakur, I think he's a lot more secure about where his power is, and sometimes even lack thereof. And I think he knows that. I think he's okay with them. Okay with that. I think when you come to the sport young and early, you want them to highlight real knockouts. Everybody's seeing Deontay Wilder do what he's doing, and they want something for themselves, something for their own highlight reel. And I'm not necessarily saying Shakur doesn't want those, but you don't see him getting caught up necessarily chasing those anymore. He's comfortable with his style. He's comfortable with what he's doing, and he will abuse you for 12 rounds if he has to, when he's having fun in there. So he doesn't necessarily need those knockouts. So he's a lot more secure with his power. So I'm not necessarily sure that's going to matter as much for him going forward. And I think I would actually say his power is better than Haney at this point in time.
I agree. I totally agree. Like, there's nothing. I mean, everything you said was spot on. I'm a huge fan of Shakur Stevenson, and you're right, man. Just echoing your statement, seeing somebody that we've really watched come up through the amateur system, through the Olympics, losing the gold medal, fight, going through it, and now seeing where he is now. I mean, we're already getting, Tank versus Ryan Garcia. And look, to this point in time, I'm sorry, I'm not one of the people that thinks that Ryan Garcia is on the same caliber as all of these guys. I don't. I haven't seen enough. If he goes out here and he does what he does against Tank Davis, even in a loss, and he goes out there and performs well, I'll reconsider. At this point in time, I'm just not there yet. But
I think
go ahead. Please.
I think Tank also gets a lot of credit, and he's unproven as well. Like, has he even had a real title at this point aside from like the WBA regular belt? Has he had the super? Has he had the super belt yet?
You know what though? Some of the guys that he's fought, even though obviously he was bigger than like a Leo Santa Cruz and stuff like that. Like, Leo's a dog. And granted, he's bigger, but skill wise, he was able to bait him in and just land with just sheer destruction on a dude that was actually fighting well at the point in time in the fight when it happened. And we're talking about guys granted, a lower weight class, still a champion level guy. So he's beating quality opponents.
For me, like, I know you big on this Leo Santa Cruz shit. Like, Tank's resume Tank's resume for the most part is complete bullshit. The fight that I will
no knocking that whatsoever.
I'm including Leo Santa Cruz I know you don't like that, but I'm including Leo Santa Cruz in that. Just complete bullshit. Now, the fight I will say that like we can look at for how good Tank really is that fight against Mario Barrios. A bigger opponent. You saw how effective and how devastating that power can really be. And like, he gave up a lot of height. He gave up a lot of reach against a very skilled fighter at 140 pounds. I thought that was the fight that we need to be looking at. And a lot of people aren't necessarily talking about that. But the rest of his resume, for me, is bullshit. I don't think any of those fighters are proven. And I think this is probably, aside from Barrios, his biggest test yet. So while we know how talented Tank is, we hear about it from the amateurs. And
absolutely.
He's another fighter who passes the eye test. His resume is just not there right now. Now, coming back to...
I'll say this, though. I'll give Tank, in terms of... I listen to what other skillful fighters say. And other skillful fighters who have been in the ring with him, who have sparred with him, like the Shakur Stevensons, like the Devin Haney's, all of them say that he is a skillful fighter. So I'm going to go ahead and take what they're saying for granted. I'm listening to what they have to say. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I feel about it. So, but in terms of, you're right, he has not proven it in terms of, like, I think obviously Leo and Barrios, I think with those two, to me, he's proven that he can beat high level competition. But the Barrios comparison was great. I'm sorry. Go ahead, though.
So coming back a little bit to Shakur, actually looking at Devin Haney and Lomachenko, the closer we get to that fight, the more I tend to lean Lomachenko. It's so easy with how much Lomachenko has been out of the ring these last few years, battling some injuries, that we forget that a healthy Lomachenko is still that boy. Like, he's still that boy. And as you mentioned earlier, that Shakur just passes the eye test, especially right now in his career. That's just something I would certainly agree with. I'm just looking at that fight like I want him and Loma. I want Shakur and Loma in the ring. I have to see it.
1000%.
I have to see it. I have to see the battle, because I watched that fight against Yoshino and I said, it's not about power. It's not about speed. It's just Shakur knows the sweet science so much better than Yoshino, and that just played out in the ring. Like his mind was so much. He was just working him. He just putting him in hell.
He imposed his will in every facet of the game.
And it all
the
comes
fact
off,
that he landed 65% of his power punches is ridiculous. Like
everything.
Insane.
And what's funny, as I talk, everything comes off that lead hand. So Shakur Stevenson is actually right-handed, but he fights out of the southpaw stance. Who else does that? Lomachenko.
Miguel Cotto.
But Lomachenko also does that. And so his lead hand is so effective. His lead foot is so effective. And you see that in the way he fights. He uses his lead hand to establish pace, to establish rhythm, to establish distance. Lomachenko does some of those same things. So these guys have the same mindset in the way that they fight. That's a fight I need to see. And that's a fight I can't pick. But the closer we get to Haney versus Loma, I'm starting to lean Loma a little bit more.
Hey, you know what though? But again, let's put some respect on Devin Haney's name. I mean, the dude is legit, and every time we've seen him, he's gotten better. So if he goes out here and just completely dusts Loma, I mean, then I think everyone put some respect on his name. But we're definitely gonna say Devin is one of, as of right now, he is my number one, the best lightweight in the world. As of right now.
I only like that because I think it puts some rightful respect on the belts.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not like I'm like, so to me, he's the guy.
Fair.
All right. Let's transition. Also this weekend, Bam Rodriguez goes up here, man, drops down to flyweight, picks up another title, the vacant WBO Flyweight title. Ended up winning this fight with a broken jaw. Broke his jaw in the 6th round. Lasted the last 6 doing work with his jaw broken. Guru, what are your thoughts about Bam? I know this is a guy that you've liked and talked about in the past. How did you like this performance?
Yeah, love Bam, and I thought it's pretty interesting. This was one of 3 fights this weekend. You had, of course, the Adesanya fight, you had the Fundora fight, and then you had the Bam fight, where three fighters, not Adesanya, but Alex Pereira, Sebastian Fundora, and Bam Rodriguez, all kind of got caught disrespecting their opponent's power. And Bam Rodriguez was moving through this fight, and at 112, he will simply walk through his opponent's punches. Unless you have real power at 112, and he was just fighting at 115, left his division to his brother, Joshua Franco, and he's fighting at 112. But at 112, unless you have some special type of power, he's simply going to walk through it. And that's what he was doing. But he got caught lacking with his mouth open, got caught in the 7th round, and had to fight the rest of the fight with a broken jaw. Now, for me, BCAM, the Guru, every single time I hear a broken jaw, I don't know who you think about, but I think about Victor Ortiz quitting. I think that was against Marquez. It might have been against Marquez, but the first thing I think about is Victor Ortiz simply quitting. And there was a big debate in boxing at the time, and I was just a young fan in the sport way back when we had beautiful things like HBO Boxing, RIP. But there was this big debate about whether him quitting was justified or not, whether he has the heart of a champion or not. People bring up the fact that Ali had to fight through a fight with a broken jaw, and he was able to do it. Well, Bam Rodriguez this past weekend was able to fight through adversity. He was able to fight through pain, and he was able to get the win with a broken jaw. And that's the type of medal we want to see by a monster. That's a good word. By a monster talent like Bam Rodriguez, and he will move directly into a fight with Sonny Edwards. So Sonny Edwards, a guy who I have not seen. I'm just going to be totally honest with you. Like, I have not spent a lot of time watching 112 pounders in the UK. Like, sorry, I just haven't. And I will spend some time giving Sonny Edwards some just due, because apparently he's a really talented guy. And I think he's a great talker, and he's talked himself right into what's going to be probably a career payday for him at 112 pounds against the most talented guy and probably at probably 112 and 115. So while I haven't seen him talking on Twitter has done a lot for his career, and Bam wants him next. And he was looking at a fight with Gallo Estrada. He's like, no, I'll wait on that. I want you next. So, I mean, we'll see how long it takes for his broken jaw to heal up, but he looked good up to that 6th round, doing all the things we know him to do, footwork, using defense to land some big power punches, pressure, like that pressure defense offensive style that we're getting used to seeing him. Like, he did everything. But
for sure,
you know, broken jaw can derail a game plan a little bit, and so he didn't look as good, but he didn't look terrible with the broken jaw.
I mean, even at a point that in the 10th round, he looked like he could have stopped the fight. I mean, so he had his moments even throughout, even up to the 12th round, where he was still coming forward, even with the broken jaw. It's not like he took his foot off the gas at all. He kept on coming forward, kept on coming downhill. You know, he still looked like himself. Obviously, you know, he had a broken jaw, but he was still essentially still looking like himself. So, dude is dope. I cannot wait to see what happens next with him. Moving right along, because
would you? I'm curious. Would you agree when I say there were 3 fights in the same night where one opponent got caught kind of lacking and disrespecting the other's power?
Yeah, for sure, 1000%. Because Pereira definitely did that with Adesanya. He was just like, oh, this is nothing. Like, dude didn't rattle his marbles every fight they've ever fought, you know? So, hey, but that's something we'll talk about a little later on. All right, moving right along a little bit. Also, this past weekend, honestly, I'm going to throw this one to you because for me, I only really caught the highlights. But Mendoza goes out here and KOs Fundora, shocked the world. What, in a scale of 1 to 10, Brandon, is your shock level? How shocked are you? Scale of 1 to 5, actually.
Scale of 1 to 5. I say my shock factor is about a 4. So I did watch the fight. I actually watched the fight today, and the Tower Inferno came tumbling down in round 7.
Tumbling down.
The call from Showtime was that one punch can change your life, and that's exactly what happened. But, you know, it just, for me, wasn't necessarily the case of one lucky punch. Fundora has a tendency to get into wars and all that beautiful height that he has, standing at what, 6'6", 6'7",
squanders his height
standing
standing
at 6'5", and somehow being able to make 154 pounds. He tends to give all that away, and he will inside the fight. But his last fight, we started to see a little bit more of a jab. This fight, he used that jab early, but he started to go back to his old ways as they got into round like 4, 5, and 5 was the round that Brian Mendoza actually said that he was going to start to kick it up a little bit. Now you see him trying to push the pressure a little bit, but he wasn't doing all of that much, and he actually was taking a shit ton of punishment. It looked like, if you were watching the fight, you probably thought that this guy was only a few rounds away from getting stopped. His face was bloody and battered.
Oh, face was all battered up.
He stopped him with a left hook, very similar to what we saw when Sergio Martinez knocked out Paul Williams. And he was throwing that left hook over and over. He was throwing over the top, left hooks over the top. He was throwing right hooks over the top. And the way he was setting those punches up is with backward movement. So if you were watching the fight, it may look like he was just backing into the ropes with these little half steps back and back and back. But watch that knockout sequence again. He took a half step back. Fundora takes that step forward, and he had that left hook waiting there that he had been throwing the entire fight, and it just finally landed. So I wouldn't necessarily call it a lucky punch, but if they go back in a rematch, I'm not necessarily sure that he wins that matchup again. It was fun, and it was out of nowhere because Fundora was dominated.
Yeah, but Fundora, man, you hit it on the head, man. He absolutely needs to use his length more. As long as he never utilizes his jab. That's why, I mean, he did it in his last fight. So the fact that he didn't do it this time around, I'm not gonna lie, I was 5, definitely shocked. This was definitely one of the fights that I didn't pencil in because I just assumed Fundora was gonna win. I'm like, yo, dude is phenom, dude is great. There's so much great fights this weekend. I'll catch it on the back end. I'm getting, the group chat's lighting up. I turn around, yo, dude is knocked totally unconscious. I was completely shocked. I hope he learns from it. It was a bad knockout, so I mean, hope he also takes the time off that he needs. But I'm curious to see how he rebounds from it. I really am.
It was bound to happen
at that weight class. Yeah, absolutely was bound to happen sooner or later. But
he's so tall, and Mendoza was so short that he spent a lot of the fight able to catch that same shot off his shoulder. And he was rolling it off his shoulder a lot of the fight. But we got into round 5 and 6 when Mendoza said he would turn it up, and he wasn't rolling that punch as well. A few of them landed, and one just landed right on the button, and shit, it was beautiful. It almost in the same type, within probably a 10-minute span, it looked very similar to the Adesanya knockout. One punch has a guy completely stunned. The next punch puts him out.
Yeah. I mean, it's seriously, it was the one punch, and the taller guy kind of wobbles a little bit, and those second two completely clean him out. So now it was a day of some crazy knockouts. I mean, the UFC card was nice. It had a gang of knockouts, and then on the boxing end, there was some people getting their ass whooped all over the place.
Well, now look, I want to ask you, what was the more impressive knockout to you? I know it's the fight and everything, the storyline and just the meaning of the fight was way more on the Adesanya side of things, but that Mendoza knockout came out of nowhere. He was getting dominated. He was getting beat up. He was getting battered with uppercuts. And then out of nowhere, he drops a left hook from fucking hell. So what was more impressive to you?
To me, the one more impressive one is Adesanya, because also the level of the competition that Adesanya was in there against. I mean, you're also talking about a guy who also knows him very well, knows what he does extremely well. So going in there and knocking out a high-level striker in that moment with all that type of pressure on the line, Fundora, as great as he is, has never felt that type of pressure yet. He's not a champion that's lost his belt. So everything, the storyline, the meaning that came behind that, in that moment, to me, made that knockout with Adesanya the more impressive knockout of the weekend.
Gotcha. I'm probably gonna go with you. Everything in me wants to go with the Mendoza knockout, but the fight with Adesanya was just fought at such a high level, and it's so hard to disregard that storyline and him losing his title and getting it back. Storylines matter to me, and so
for sure,
that knockout was clearly the knockout of the weekend, and it should be.
Absolutely. No, it was shit. We'll get into it. We got some more boxing we got to talk. Speaking of somebody who did get a dub recently, we weren't able to talk about it last week, but Anthony Joshua got a win in a I'll be the one to say it. It was not an impressive fight. It was a pretty lackluster performance. I have to ask you this. Has Anthony Joshua lost his killer instinct? And also I'm going to double down and say, essentially, where do you rank him in the division? Let me start off with this, though. Do I believe he's actually lost his killer instinct? Absolutely. Absolutely. This is not the same Anthony Joshua that I saw compete against, Vladimir Klitschko. This is not the same Anthony Joshua that I've even saw compete the first time against, Andy Ruiz. I don't know if leaving and trying different camps just isn't suiting him, but I am not liking what I'm seeing. It seems like the fire that made him, he looks just content. He looks like he's always sad. He doesn't look like he's having fun anymore. He doesn't look like that dog. The dog doesn't seem in him anymore. I mean, am I wrong by saying that? How do you feel about it?
I really tend to like Eddie Hearn, and I
do.
He's a good promoter. Yes. He really is. And so I listened to him speak after the fight about Anthony Joshua, and he fucking flipped that shit. And I'm not buying into what he's saying, but when he was talking, it sounded good. He was basically like, yo, this is what Klitschko did after he got knocked out. He turned into a much boring fighter, but he was effective over a long period of time. He got his belt back, and he was a dominant champ. So, he changed his style. Why can't Anthony Joshua change his style? Now, I don't think Anthony Joshua is Vladimir Klitschko. And while he's training with Derek James, who's a very talented trainer, not necessarily, I'm not sure we can compare him just yet, maybe in the future, but just yet to Emmanuel Stewart. So, and he doesn't have any much experience to our knowledge with heavyweights. So I thought that was a good sales job on trying to flip, something that we all see. It looks like he's lost his killer instinct. He's definitely, in my opinion, lost his. I say that a lot. He's definitely lost his top 5 ranking. I think Usyk could beat him. I think Fury could beat him. I think Wilder could beat him. I think Joyce can beat him. I think Frank Sanchez could beat him at this point in time if he's going to fight like that. So I think he's lost his top.
You know who else I throw in there too? What's Big Baby? Not Big Baby Miller, the other Big Baby.
Oh, maybe. How'd you feel about him this weekend?
I thought he looked good. Yeah.
Did you see him?
I did.
I don't know.
I watched him.
I liked it.
I don't know how you're not sold on dude. I mean, athletic heavyweight, American.
Let's talk about
power
what
in both
sold
hands.
Me. I think he's a really good heavyweight. B+. I just don't see him as an A+ fighter. And I'm not sure what everybody how everybody's ranking him, but I do see him as a really good quality heavyweight, athletic, good boxing IQ, but they're also feeding him bullshit. Like, all of that shit looks good against bullshit. And we've seen this story time and time again. Let's step up his level of competition. Top Rank has F.A. Ajagba. They also have some other people. There was another guy that I really wanted to see about him, but F.A. was one of those guys. You got people like Frank Martin.
So if he goes out there and stops F.A., would you be like, okay, this dude is legit?
It gives me more of a reason to care. It gives me more of a reason to care, because right now these are just trash bags. And Top Rank can do this. They're doing a great job promoting him. Everyone's talking about him. Everybody wants to see what he's going to look like. But when? At this point in time, now, Jared Anderson is 14-0. Like, at what point in time are we going to say, like, are we going to up his level of competition? Now,
they're going to give him one more fight. I think they're going to give him one more trash bag, and then they're going to go out here and they're going to give him a respectable name.
The Arias, the guy he fought, was 18-0. So not like a complete trash bag, but he just wasn't on his level. I want to see someone that's actually closer to his level. And I think at this point in time, with where FA has been, that's probably
that's a great pickup. That's a great, they're under the same umbrella. I mean, if that fight happens next, I'll be happy. That's a great call. I can rock with that.
Otto Wallin, I'm not mad at that.
Not mad at that either. Oh, but I agree with you. Anthony Joshua is no longer a top 5 heavyweight in my mind. All those guys that you ranked, including Frank Sanchez, I think at this present moment in time, I don't think he's aggressive enough. I don't think his defense is good enough, and I don't think he wants it enough at this point in time. I mean, the dude, I saw more fire in him after the fight, and whatever that little weird, strange scuffle was, post-fight afterwards, than I saw during the fight. It was strange, man. It was strange. I don't know if the dude really wants to do this anymore. I'll be very honest with you.
I think he's I'm not sure he wants to do it anymore. I just don't think he wants to be average. And right now he's trying to transition to a new style, and we just don't know what that looks like just yet. What's important, he's still got the win. He gets to live. He gets to fight another day. He does not have to. Sure. We don't have to check him to see if he's going to stay, committed to his work. Not. He doesn't have to retire. We will see him this summer, allegedly against Dylan White, and I think that is the right fight for him at this point in time. The fighter that I was looking for before, I would like to see Jared Anderson versus Daniel Dubois.
Ooh, okay. I would like that also. That would be a great fight. And you know what? Whomever wins, I give mad respect to. It'd be one of those. I'd be like, okay, I see. All right. It has come to a time now we can talk about it. We've teased it all show. Hey, man, our boy Izzy, UFC 287, the redemption story, goes out there, knocks out second round, end of the second round, knocks out Alex Pereira with an overhand right, double down on the right hand, finish it off with a hook, and then just Thor's hammer of her hammer fist. Gets it done. 3 bow and arrow salute at the end of that joint to close it off, and then trolled the 12-year-old son. I mean, it was a thing of beauty. All of it, I was here for it. The card itself delivered, but the moment and what Izzy did, I mean, chef's kiss to the moment. It was great. I was excited. What can I say?
The moment, the redemption story, the highlight reel knockout. I mean,
oh my god!
In every single way, this was a black ass Rocky movie.
Yes,
You know,
1000%.
this huge 185-pounder comes up, chases this man from kickboxing and knocks him out and takes his belt. Like,
For sure.
and after being pushed super fast by the UFC, he's able to come back in Rocky fashion just a few months later. He doesn't
5
wait.
months later. 5 months.
He comes right back and gets that get back. And it's just so hard as a human being to not like that, because unless you're a fan for a particular reason of Alex Pereira, we love a comeback story. We love seeing that get back, and he got it back in blood.
Yes, he did. And I loved every aspect of it. The comeback story, it really did feel like a Rocky movie, and it seemed like one moment time everyone was happy. I don't know, I saw everyone was collectively celebrating. Maybe at least it is in my bubble. I know there are some haters out there still talking shit, but we don't acknowledge them anyways. But it was great. I mean, it was one I'm hearing people throw around as the greatest knockout in history because of everything, and I don't know if I'm gonna go that far, but with the moment, it did feel as if we were watching something special. Izzy is with with retaining his belt. I think there is no question that with if you look down his resume, I mean, he's literally beat a murderer's row and then twice. I mean, he is one of the all-time greats. I don't think there's any question of that, and I think we cannot question that anymore.
As I spoke about earlier, the mindset of a champion in Bam Rodriguez and his performance, and to go through fire and fight 6 rounds with the broken jaw. I think we saw just throughout the entire storyline the mindset of a champion with Israel Adesanya. He's not somebody you think of. Anthony Joshua, he got knocked out, and we just haven't seen that same Anthony Joshua since.
Has not been back.
Izzy got knocked out, and not for a moment did he ever doubt himself. Not for a moment did he ever doubt his skills. Not for a moment did he ever doubt his ability to beat Alex Pereira. Not for a moment, not even right after the fight when he lost. He wanted his rematch. He wanted it immediately. And as I watched the fight play out, and I noticed that he's sticking in the pocket a little bit more with a bigger and more powerful man, you realize just how much he believed in himself, and he was going to put it all out there. Standing in the pocket with a guy like that, while it was an effective strategy, it's a dangerous one. And we saw that play out right before the knockout. He takes a knee to the face. He takes a monster body shot, but he fires back. He was confident in himself. He believed in himself, and we saw the finish with the 3 arrows. I think it was perfect.
Perfect. Loved it. Loved everything about it. It was such a great moment. Great to see. And man, all is well in the world again when Izzy's going out there getting those W's. A lot of fun. All right. Anything else we want to get into this week, man? Anything else in the world of boxing you want to touch on before we get up out of here?
Yeah, so Joe Joyce versus Zhang this weekend. Zhang, I think he looks really, really good in his last fight out against Philip Hrgovic, who's a big prospect, 15-0 heavyweight. But Zhang looks really, really good in that fight. He showed a lot. And a fighter like him at that size, oddly enough, Zhang was training with who? Alex Pereira for this past for the Izzy fight. Just a super odd pairing.
That's but random pairing.
Such a random pairing, but they were training together. But either way, Zhang is, if you don't like boxing, is an opponent that you can overlook, but not an opponent that you should overlook. Now, I'm still going to pick Joe Joyce for the win this weekend by stoppage, but I think it's going to be a fun fight while it lasts, not a fight that we should miss. And then you also have Michaela Mayer fighting.
Great. He's super entertaining.
Michaela Mayer is fighting the only fighter that's ever beat Alicia Baumgartner on the undercard.
Oh, yeah. I saw her trolling her as well about it, talking all the trash. So that's going to be a good one. I mean, for the women's boxing game, Michaela Mayer, Alicia Baumgartner, Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor, all those women have really, ushered in a new generation. And all their fights are kind of like can't miss fights. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch as well. All right, Guru, I appreciate it, man. It's about all the time we have for today, man. Everybody else, thank you guys so much for watching today. Guru, for closing thoughts, final words, anything you want to say before we get up out of here?
Anything I want to say, man, let the fights come. Like, I want these fights to keep happening. Continue to make these big fights. Like, keep this energy in boxing.
Absolutely. Hey, and we're absolutely going to be back next week because we are getting closer and closer to another super fight. We're talking about Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia.
It's a big fight coming up.
It's a big fight coming up.
Might have heard of it.
With that one, we might have to do something special for that. We might have to call some people up or something, get somebody else on here. But regardless, we're going to be breaking that one down for you guys as well. So make sure you check us out next Tuesday. Each and every Tuesday, we're going to try to do these as often as possible for you guys. All things boxing, Guru's Corner with my man's right here, the Guru, CAMM. This is host SERG VICENTE. This is the Fight Podcast. Love you guys. Please like, share, and subscribe to this video and so many others. Also, if you guys are into pro wrestling, jump on over to the Scrap News' YouTube channel. We are about to go ahead and do a show there, Royal Rundown, talking about everything pro wrestling. We'll be talking about that today as well. All right. Love y'all. We will see you next time right here on the Fight Podcast. As soon as I figure out where to end this button is. There it is. Peace.